Hey guys, so I thought I would do my first accessibility video on labeling forms because it's something that's really important and it's something that sometimes I don't see a whole lot of. I'm going to show an example of a form that isn't labeled, and then I'm going to show an example of a form that is labeled, and you guys can hear the difference. Unfortunately, the form that isn't labeled is coming from a site called CodeMentor, which I like the concept of it, but it's not the most accessible website in the world, and basically it's a place where you can go and get help. If you're a developer, you can get either freelance help or you can get somebody to help you with a project that you're having one-on-one over Zoom and that type of thing. So I'm going to show you the form that's used to add a request, and I'm going to show you what that sounds like with NVDA, which is a free open source screen reader for Windows.
Task CodeMentor get live 1:1 coding help. Hire a developer. CodeMentor get live 1:1 coding help.
Okay, so
Visited link CodeMentor homepage.
if I tab through this form here,
Clickable edit add others.
add others. Well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Edit required blank. Edit required multi-line blank.
See, none of these form fields
Combo box collapsed. Add a tag edit has autocomplete blank.
are labeled except for that one. Add a tag, and I don't even know if that's labeled or if that's just luck. It's reading the right thing. Let me inspect the element here. It might have another label on it or something.
Menu selected submenu. Inspect N7 of CodeMentor get live 1:1 coding. Combo box collapsed. Add a tag edit has auto. Elements panel property page. DOM tree explorer main landmark. Page DOM tree view. Level 15 less input type equals text autocomplete equals off aria autocomplete equals list aria controls equals react auto whatever one class name equals tags placeholder equals add a tag size equals 30 max length equals 30 value greater.
Oh, they're using a placeholder. Okay, well that's the problem with using placeholders is the placeholder disappears when you start putting text in. So all form fields should have a visible visual label. Um, and there's all kinds of problems with this form. There's other controls that aren't actually form controls, so tab just skips right over them. Um, I could probably spend a whole night on just this page going through and pointing out the issues with it. But anyway, now I'm going to go to a form that I wrote um, that is labeled.
Toolbar. Dot X C
Let's
select
see, this is from the
unselected R
Accessible
D
Budgeting
G
app
G com C M slash
that I posted a video
accessiblebudgeting.com
on.
slash login selected. Accessiblebudgeting.com slash login selected instead. Accessible budget. Visited link login. Main landmark continue with Google button. Budget management document. Banner landmark visited link home.
Okay, so
Log out button. Donate button. Main landmark month combo box collapse jewel. Year combo box collapse 2022. Income added $5,000.
see here it's reading all of the form field labels, and it's reading the text, the fact that it's a text field, and it's reading the text and all that. Now I'm going to go over here to my code and show you.
Screencastify screen video $year.tsx budget management
But all you need to do to
$year.tsx dash
achieve
budget
this is
dash management dash remix.
all you need to do to achieve that is to put a label tag around where you're um, what you want the text to be, and in React it's HTML4 equals to the ID of the control that you're labeling. So let's see.
Month. Less slash label. Less label class name equals quote MB dash 1 quote HTML for equals quote month quote greater.
So HTML4 equals month because that's the ID of the drop-down list that it's labeling.
Month. Less slash label greater. Less select. Default value equals left brace month right brace. ID equals quote month quote.
You see the ID is equal to month, so that label, no matter where it is on the screen, it's going to label that month control because it's tied to the control via the in React HTML4, in regular HTML, it's just 4 equals months. Um, and even like, I don't know about all the design frameworks, but I know I just started using the Kendo React Controls by Telerik, and they have a label tag that works similar to the other label tag, the regular label tag, that you pass it an ID, and I assume the other design frameworks, if you're using React Material or something like that, would probably have the same thing. Um, the other way to label something is to put an area-label attribute on it. Um, and this is probably most useful when you're dealing with a grid and you have um, like the label isn't on the screen right by the text box, where the label is actually a column header of the table. So you could put you could just use an area label on the text box that would repeat that text and show you, and be the actual label of the text box. Another thing that you could use, not to label, but to show error messages, and I don't have a good example of this right off the top of my head, but there's an attribute called aria-described by, and that takes an ID that points to the span or div or whatever that has the label in it, and that is read after the control is announced, and that's usually used to associate error messages to controls. So you have a regular label, and then you have the control, and then you have the aria described by, which would be used to show any, associate any error messages to controls after form validation is complete. So that's my little lesson on labeling. If anybody has any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I will do my best to address it in a future video. Thanks. Have a good night.
Start debugging F5S1. Tasks. Screencastify screen video Screencastify screen video recorder is sharing your screen and audio. Stop sharing button, hide link, stop sharing button,